So thank you, grace of heaven, virtue of masters, grand predecessors, lecturers, and all of you for this opportunity to learn to speak on this topic today. So the 5 constants and 8 virtues, as you can see on the screen, say the first one, I'll just skip the pinyin so I don't pronounce it incorrectly. So the first one is Ren, or is the virtue of benevolence and righteousness and honesty, propriety, correct behavior, good manners, politeness, ceremony and worship. Then knowledge or knowing. Then you have the virtue of trustworthiness and loyalty. So the 5 constant virtues are most important traditional virtues of Confucianism. So Confucius, as we all know, is the person who was synonymous when it comes to virtues, because he sort of wrote or sort of directed a whole country and all about the way how one should actually live. And every time I read something about Confucianism, I realize that most laws or things leaders say is similar or have some sort of relationship with Confucius principles, but because we are living in the Western world, they don't really say that. But if we listen to it correctly, we realize there is some sort of connection. So, but although they all come from Confucianism, they are widely acknowledged worldwide amongst Tao cultivators. To be a moral person and a cultivator, the ancient principles of cultivated while monitoring themselves according to the 5 constant virtues and carried them down to the modern time and life. So if it's modern time and life, it's still being practiced today. It's just that because in this Western world there are so many types and versions of religion, so, and because we in the Tao believe that there is a mandate, and those who have that mandate are the ones who are responsible, or they have the ability to propagate the Tao, whereas the people in religion don't. So, but we can't get into that because that's not our concern. Heaven will take care of that sort of stuff. So benevolence is in cultivation. One, attentiveness to benevolence should use another Confucian version of the golden rule. So what is the golden rule? What one does not wish for oneself, one ought not to do to anyone else. And that is something that is not really practiced today, as we hear all these things are happening and people doing things to one another or taking advantage of the less fortunate. One ought not to do to anyone else what one recognizes as desirable for oneself. One ought to be willing to grant others virtues in the Confucian view is based upon harmony with other people. Produced through this type of ethical practice by growing identification of the interests of self and others. In short, parents treat their children. The benevolent person spares no effort to help others. One even lays down one's life to this end, with no thought of being repaid. So a story goes, there's a 2,000-year-old story by the Confucian, in the Confucian era, about a soldier named Han Xing, Xin.
Xing.
Xing. Han Sing. Han Sing, who later became a general of the Han Dynasty, was so poor that he could not afford to eat. One day, an old woman washing clothes beside the river offered him some food. Han Sing was very grateful and said that he would reciprocate her kindness in the future. The old woman said, "I offered you food, not to be repaid." The old woman even did not give him her name, but her virtue of being ready to help others had been handed down from one generation to the next. Righteousness. So what do you think righteousness is? About some things we do or something we are. Right doing or right being. What we are not righteous because of how morally right we are. We are not righteous because we exercise self-control. We are not righteous because we recite sutras daily. We are not righteous because we feel righteous, but we are the very righteousness of God because the sacrifices and true cultivation made it so. When we believe this, our true self and our faith is accounted for righteousness. Propriety. The contents of propriety includes loyalty, filial piety, fraternal duty, chastity, respect, etc. Originated in ancient sacrificial rites, propriety is a general sense signifies behavioral norms which maintains hierarchies. In ancient societies, besides the relations of monarchs and subjects, there are also the relations of father and son, husband and wife, the elder and the young, teacher and student, and others. These relations differ, but all demands respect and modest differences to others. However, the spirit of equality is an essential prerequisite of propriety, especially in the relations with unfamiliar persons. Wisdom. Wisdom, knowing, is the innate knowledge by which one judges right and wrong, good and evil. This is necessary in the practice of normal norms, or otherwise one cannot become a person of virtue. In a sense, it precedes the other because without wisdom one will have no sense of ethics or social skills or even just the plain common sense and other virtues required for guidance. According to Socrates, virtue is knowledge because all living things aim for their perceived good, and therefore if anyone does not know what is good, he cannot do what is good, because he will always aim for a mistaken target. But if someone knows what is good, he will do what is good, because he will aim for what is good. If Socrates is correct, then why don't people who say they know what is they should do, namely what is good, not do what they say they know they should do? It is not true that all vice is the result of ignorance, and all moral virtue is the result of knowledge. Trustworthiness. Okay, I'm missing a page. So I'll go back a little because I missed something. So Socrates also says, if I know what is right when I will not choose to do what is wrong, but then why do I do what I say is wrong? I say I believe X to be the good, while they really believe that not X is X is. For example, Confucius taught his disciples to be honest in study. If they know things, say they know it. If you don't know, say so. He taught that it was the correct attitude towards study. I transmit. I'm gonna skip trustworthiness is or fidelity is honesty. This means that externally one's deed must matches one's word, and that internally one's word and mind are in unison. So trustworthiness is a virtue that most human, well, we all should be trustworthy, because it's a principle that was taught as we are growing up, even though most people, especially a lot of people in authority, don't do it because of greed and things like that. But one should not bypass or overlook trustworthiness, because one should be able to trust someone. If we say something, we must actually be able to mean what we are saying. So when we say something, mean what we say and say what we mean. If we make a promise, we should always keep that promise and not overlook that promise, because we are speaking earlier on about karma. If we don't, then naturally then we'll be creating more karmas. So trustworthiness is something that we should try to practice all the time, because it's so important to us, our daily living. So now the 8 virtues. The scholar attribute the 8 virtues to a line in the sage Emperor Guan. So who is this Guan's book of enlightenment? So a short story about Emperor Guan, since I have it, was originally the revered Mr. Guan in the Shu kingdom of the 3 kingdom period. So the 8 virtues are filial piety, sibling harmony, dedication, trustworthiness, propriety, sacrifice, honor, and sense of shame. So filial piety, sibling harmony are sort of connected in a way. So these 8 virtues are the criteria that Confucius left for people to follow. They are regarded by cultivators as the moral foundation of society. Failing to behave according to these moral standards, it was taught that if one does not follow these virtues, he or she would not be regarded as being human. So that's sort of harsh, do you think, transmitter? So because you don't believe, so you are considered as not human. Any comment on that?
Not human.
Well, I think what they believe is to say is because you are expect to have this high virtue, and because you are not following these specific virtue, then you are considered less than human.
Well, in Confucian times, there is a. Well, let's put it this way. If we speak generally, we have our human nature. Okay, and the human nature is basically, according to what Lecture Liu describes it very detailed about the fact that we follow our five senses, right? You have wu si, then you have these, then the relationship of eyes and your desires and so on, all that stuff. Okay, so those, if you don't use your mind or don't use any virtue or whatever to control that, then you are literally no different from an animal who just follows the instincts. Okay, so in Confucian times, it is expected that you know, to become a scholar or learn. In those days, it's all just like, before Confucius. I mean, during the time of Confucius and before, there was no such thing as like these exams. Okay, it was only based on the fact that how good are you as a human being? Okay, so, and what Confucius did was he essentially sort of like tries to categorize. That's why there's 5 constants, there's 8 virtues. There's more than that, by the way. There isn't just these 5 and 8. Okay, there's more than that. There's the 3. There's also the 3 honors or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, the point is that he tries to describe them because he puts it in a way that we as humans can try to understand in terms of like conduct, how we behave, how should we behave, okay? So, and also how we should think, the way we should think. That's why the sense of shame, that's the one of the virtues is there, okay? So the idea is that, he goes, if your mind has these virtues, then you would follow up with those virtues, okay? Now, if your mind does not have those virtues, you will not follow those virtues. But unfortunately, there's also a third part. And the third part is you follow those virtues, okay, but only in a sense of on the surface. You follow the virtues. You don't really follow up on it. So, you know, that's why later on, that's why governments became like they have corrupt officials and all that stuff, because they still say or talk about all these virtues, but they don't follow up on it, right?
Practice.
So what Confucius was trying to say was the fact that he goes, you know, hey, if you truly are a person with these virtues in yourself, then whatever you do and all that stuff, you don't necessarily have to describe it like this, like these 8 virtues, but what you do is already good behavior, the way you conduct yourself and all that stuff. So you can't just rely on people saying that, oh, okay, I'm filial or whatever, because the truth is, the only way you can prove that you're filial is the fact that you actually do it. Okay, so without doing that, that's why, you know, it's mentioned earlier, you say what, your heart and mind must be in unison. I mean, your heart, mind, and your conduct must be in unison, or whatever. So that's basically the most important part. I mean, however you want to categorize these different virtues and all that stuff, okay, it's just a way of trying to differentiate us from animals. Well, that's what Confucius, I think, was trying to do.
Okay, okay. All right. So it continues to say that practicing the virtue is integral to Confucius training. Other teachings from Chinese culture provide similar guidance and conducting oneself. Taoism talk about the 5 beauties of the human character: kindness, proper conduct, propriety, wisdom, and trustworthiness. In Buddhism, it has set out the 5 precepts: do not take life, do not steal or rob, do not commit adultery, do not tell lies, do not drink alcohol. They all serve a similar purpose, which is to help us tame the heart and overcome our mundane nature and all the pathway towards enlightenment. So, what is filial piety? There are many aspects of filial piety. The most important aspect of filial piety is to honor our father and mother and attend to their needs. By honor, it is meant that we should maintain good conduct and never do things which will shame our parents or make them unhappy. We should be hardworking in family affairs. We should be frugal in spending and not waste family resources. Siblings should live in harmony in our interaction with with other people. We should be honest and sincere. Do not be deceitful in all our actions. Be humble. Be courteous and considerate to others. Be prepared to refrain from shameful thoughts and actions. If we achieve all these, then we have devoted ourselves to practicing filial piety. Our parents care for us without selfish interests. Our mother carries us in their womb for 10 lunar months and nurse us for 3 years. Our parents constantly tended to our needs while we were growing up. We should therefore show our gratitude to them by fulfilling the virtue of filial piety. Jean, that's your topic.
Yeah,
any subject, comment on that?
Also, why in the mourning phase, when our parents leave, one should mourn for the parents.
Yeah.
A minimum of 3 years.
3 years.
Same meaning because the child needs the parents to nurse them.
So you're actually repaying that period that they carry. Yeah. So harmony. To live in peace as brothers and sisters, respectful of others. What is sibling harmony? Sibling harmony can be explained in two ways. The first concerns our relationship with persons not in our families. In interacting with elders, we should be respectful, do not be arrogant. This is what it's meant by harmony among all people. So, especially today where we have children, or we say the youths so disrespectful, and they think that they have all these rights, so they don't have to show respect for elders. But when you say elders is not necessarily an older elderly person according to age, but anyone or everyone is deserving of respect. And as cultivators or members of the temple, we should be showing that. Should be a practice that is seen and admired by everybody every day. Secondly, harmony concerns our relationships with our siblings within our family, regardless of whether siblings are living together, whether siblings share the same mother and father. The elder should love the younger. The younger should respect the elder. In our duties to our parents, we should not be concerned with dividing responsibilities among siblings. We should not be thinking of claiming our parents' wealth or property. If the elder sibling is wrong in his or her action, the younger should humbly advise the elder. If the younger sibling is wrong, the elder should teach him or her with patience. In this way, brothers and sisters will be harmonious with each other. So, brothers and sisters is saying that brothers and sisters should be able to live together in harmony. And as we notice, or some have heard, how brothers and sisters, or brothers or sisters together, are fighting for their parents' wealth or whatever they may have, or when it's time to, when the parents pass away, there's always a struggle to see who could get the most of what the parents left. And when the parents was alive, they were not doing a lot for their parents. But when the parents leave this earthly world, there's always a big struggle for what the parents left. So, dedication. What is dedication? The Chinese word for this virtue literally means center your heart. Everyone knows of government official who is not corrupt, who is devoted to his or her duties, is a loyal and dedicated official. Dedication is a virtue not only applicable to government officials, it is a virtue that each person must have. Whatever profession we are in, be it agriculture, education, commerce, science, industry, etc., we should make the strongest effort to be dedicated and honest in all our relationships. This is dedication. In public and private affairs, whether it takes great hardship and effort, whether we are acting openly or covertly, we must be honest, hardworking, and dedicated to our concerns for others. If the merchant is dishonest in business, if the laborer is lazy and sloppy, if the farmer is not hardworking, if the scholar does not pursue knowledge and display contempt for and pity and petty argument through his or her pen, if government officials are corrupt and abusive of their power, this is not dedication. Trustworthiness. Honesty and trustworthiness goes hand in hand, or it could be the same thing according to the dictionary. But the virtue encompasses honesty, trust, and sincerity. Our speech and our action should be honest. Do not exaggerate. Do not be deceitful. If we make promises to others, we should be true to our word. Follow the teachings of the sages, trust their examples, and learn from them. If we have any suspicion of their honorable action, we are untrusting. No matter what our reputation, if we habitually lie, say one thing and doing another, we will acquire a reputation of being unworthy of trust. If our dishonest, insincere, and untruthful action are known, no one will trust us or help us in our public or private affairs. Without support from others, we will not be able to accomplish anything. Without trustworthiness, we will come to ruin. Propriety. What is propriety? Propriety is a virtue which covers many kind of action. The entire book of rights, a Confucius classic, is devoted to discussion of propriety, and yet it is said that the discussion has not covered all aspects of the virtue. The full meaning of this virtue cannot be covered in this lesson. The most important aspect of the virtue can only briefly highlighted. Propriety encompasses good conduct, good manners, and courtesy in paying respect to heaven and earth, parents and teachers, hosts or guests. Be careful about our conduct and our manners. We should be courteous and good-mannered, stand when we should stand, sit when we should sit, speak when when it is our turn, behave properly, do not be flippant, disrespectful or bad-tempered. This is what it means by propriety. At the temple, at a banquet, and other gatherings. Men and women should
Hit the screen, Mike.
The on and off button, Okay.
There's a button that they say.
Yeah, there's a button near about 1/3 of the way up. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now. Yeah.
So men and women should conduct themselves respectfully. Uncles, aunt, brothers, brother-in-law, sister-in-law should not raise their voices, teach each other, flirt with each other, or forget the behaviors appropriate to their position in the family. This is propriety. I think those virtues are not really practiced today because everybody thinks that they can say what they want and do what they want when they feel like doing it. So these are very hard, but I'm sure most of us believe or wish that these virtues were still practiced today. What do you think? What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you see how sometimes your little brother speaks to you, right? So, sacrifice. What is sacrifice? Sacrifice involves examining our conscience and doing our duties without hesitation, without waiting for others to perform our deeds for us, without expecting of reward, or without consideration for hardship and effort. When you work selflessly for our country, help to relieve suffering in the world, give our share of family resources to help our siblings and relatives, this is sacrifice. When we uphold our virtues, help orphans and widows, give to the poor, this is also sacrifice. However, if we steal, rob, gamble, engage in unscrupulous action, lead young people into bad habits, cheat in our business dealings, and do things only for money or other personal gains.
那个今天国办到，他不想钱，今天不想钱了。
No ceremony.
Okay.
No ceremony.
No ceremony.
So just finish up.
So I'll just finish this page.
Yeah.
Yeah. White. Oh, that's a way to balance. Right?
Yeah,
It
personal
goes
gains.
straight to cut off.
Okay. And do things only for money or the personal gains. We should abandon the virtue of sacrifice. The practice of sacrifice also involves giving up personal gains to uphold the virtues of dedication, trustworthiness, and honor. We need to sacrifice self-interest and even our lives to fulfill promises we should make make to others, and to ensure that our actions are honorable and honest. Sacrifice also means helping others regardless of what they have done for us. This means that we must show appreciation of good deeds rendered to us by others. If we do not appreciate help given to us and return a good deed with an evil one, we have forgotten what it means to return good for good. Okay, so sacrifice, or stop at the next.
还是有人收到两位，一个 baby， 一个10岁的。
Continue.
Okay. So honor. So honor, the foundation of honor is frugality and having a bright, open heart. If something does not belong to you, you should not desire it or take it. Even if something rightfully belongs to you, you should first find out whether taking it will cause harm to others. So I don't remember who, but this is very important. I think someone lesson, it says, I think you said, we should not be like at our jobs, we shouldn't be taking things from our jobs. We should not, things like that. See, like the pens, the papers, whatever. If it's not ours, we should not take it. But what here is hard is that if someone takes something from you, we have to make sure that when we try to say, oh, this is mine, so give it back, it's not going to cause harm to the person. My understanding of that is if the person probably need it more than I do, then we should just leave it with that person, because taking it back will probably cause that person some harm. So even if I think I did that already. Take something here. Whatever we do, act according to our conscience. If we can be discriminating in claiming and taking only what we can take, then we will be frugal with anything we owe or show concern for others. Know the limit to our own resources. If we plan to spend more than we can afford, then we will be tempted to resort to dishonorable action and achieve our goal. So it means that being frugal, we should not try to spend more than we earn. So, or just have a good budget and stick to our budget. Be content with what we have and do not desire riches gain from dishonorable action. The ancient sages lived simple lives and possess all the wisdom in the world. So like Edison was saying, how Jigong was just in one robe, one slippers or shoe, and he didn't have anything else. So that is real frugality. So if we do misuse drugs and other intoxicants, if we do not gamble, then our heart and body will be clean and we will be an honorable person. Look at corrupt governments, officials who the greedy rich people who exploit the poor and associate with murderers or unscrupulous thieves, the people who will do all kinds of dishonorable action to get rich. Instead of engaging in an honorable living, they will break up families, bankrupt business in order to gain some profit or for a few dollars more or a moment of pleasure. sense of shame. We have a sense of shame. So knowledge of a sense of shame is understanding the consequences of non-virtuous action. This virtue is to be understood with reference to the other 7 virtues. Knowing shame is knowing what action or non-virtue and not doing them. So every time you look at the news and you see a person after they got arrested, they try to cover their faces and so forth. But the reporter is reading out their names or so forth and their picture is shown, but yet they're covering their faces. So that's a great example to show that sense of shame. But then to avoid that sense of shame, what do? Try not to do what is wrong so we don't get in that situation. So we don't have to be hiding our faces. So this virtue is to be understood with reference to the other 7. Knowing shame is knowing what action or non-action and not doing them. Shameful action includes neglecting filial piety, bringing shame to our parents, disharmony among siblings, leading others to take advantage of others, lack of dedication or dishonesty, leading someone to hate you, failure to keep our words, leading to the loss of trustworthiness. Are these not shameful actions? Disrespecting propriety, being miserly and ungracious, having selfish interests, dishonorable taking money, leading others to insult us in our face and to laugh at us behind our backs. These not shameful action. If we are shamelessly in our lifetime, we will not only ruin our well-being but also that of our descendants, as to associate with the unscrupulous and other wrongdoers, obviously use drugs and sex carelessly, management of family resources, and attempting to the deeds of our family. These are again shameful action. The consequence of shameful action is total disgrace. So in conclusion, we must appreciate our mothers, our fathers at all times. I know you have all heard this before, but I'll say it anyhow. Lost opportunities are indeed lost. Cherish, love, and respect them always, despite any circumstances. Unconditionally love them. We honor our fathers and our mothers. When we are thankful for all they have done for us, we can show them our appreciation by valuing their guidance at the same time. Always be trustworthy. Trustworthy people are respectful. Trustworthy people respect themselves and others too. They believe that respect is to be given to every human being. They did not resort to intimidation or humiliation tactics to show disrespect to others. Trustworthy people possesses good manners and strong value. To be truly trustworthy, tell the truth. Be sincere. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Keep your word. Be reliable. Return things you borrow. Keep private information private. Don't gossip. Don't ask a friend to do something wrong to keep your friendship. Propriety allows us to conform to conventional accepted standard of behavior or morals. Accept what may morally be deemed immoral. As Dawkins, we must always behave with utmost propriety when we have the urge to talk about the propriety of government officials dealing with private citizens, the propriety of relationship between lawyers and judges, or propriety of speaking out of turn, and in meetings that follows the Robert Order. The Robert Order is like a book of information that tells one how to behave in public. So having wisdom or common sense is the ability to reach sound, positive, intelligent conclusions. Wisdom implies that one has a reliable ability to judge and decide with sound prudence and intelligence. And that is the end of my presentation. I hope someone have a question or comment. No?
One thing.
Yes.
In China, right now they spring in Canada and other country Confucian school,
Yeah.
but they have a demonstration about it that saying that the Chinese are trying to control
The school?
beliefs and things like that.
Oh, yeah. I also read something where they're trying. Some people are saying that his principles are incorrect, and they're trying to get rid of it in a kind of way. But that's just a.
Principle is just that the government in
Yeah.
China.
Yeah.
They worry the government trying to control
The mind of the people.
Other countries.
To get away from
Influence,
the.
you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know how far it's true.
Yeah. So.
The Confucius principles are good.
Yeah.
It's applicable.
And I think it's something that we should be. I wish every time I'm reading these sort of things that think those principles or virtues could just be really incorporated in the Western world today, because things are so bad today, and there's very, very little respect. People don't have respect for one another, and all these things that are practiced today that we could call unscrupulous or so, but because we should not get involved in politics and so forth, then it's very hard. So, or for us to become social activists, that means we have to go out in the public and always speaking about certain things. But then that, I think that is not things that Dawkins should be involved in. Is that correct, Jean? So,
But Confucius' vision is to have a harmony society.
yeah.
Where you can open the door and nobody comes in.
But these virtues, you cannot learn them in school.
No.
So a lot of people are not brought up with any virtues.
Yeah.
Depends on the household, how the parents raise the children.
Foundation.
But nowadays, both parents are constantly working. There's not much time left to teach the little children, so they just let them grow up naturally. And a lot of them are not exposed to any virtues. So that's why propriety is lost, righteousness is lost. A lot of these virtues no longer exist in many, many different households.
See,
There's a movement now going back into all this, the basic foundation of morality, in the female.
yeah, but
But according to Confucius, his vision, like I say, he wants
The
to be a
ideal,
harmonious society,
yeah.
a very ideal, which is not practical.
yeah. Well, it is practical, but not in the Western world. Yeah, but the thing is that, like Jean saying, is the thing is that why or Confucius principles also say filial piety is the most important of all. But parents are not home to guide their children. Before times you used to have the father is the breadwinner and the mother stays home and raise the children. But because of the woman's movement, women are no longer, they want to go out to work and make their own earning. So the children are at home most of the time, don't even see their parents. So that's why the children believe that they have rights. So they could do what they want and that sort of thing, and which creates so much disrespect and disharmony.
So we like I'm a working parent, and I depend the current school, only the schools will teach something related to it. We still teach them after school. They are learning. They're not easy, but they do get influenced by
the other
right,
children.
The other actually the school districts know. So we teach them, but the school now is teaching them the other stuff that we don't want to do.
They don't want them to learn. Yeah.
So we're like, okay,
Yeah.
what we can do.
Yeah.
That's why children, for children to be raised in a temple is super
Important. Yeah.
because they build up that foundation from a very early age.
Right.
They know about all these virtues.
Yeah.
So when they grow up and say, hey, I learned that when I was a kid, I gotta follow up with what I should be doing.
So what we do now is we repeat the same thing over and over.
Over and over. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even though they hear, they get annoyed, I'm sorry, but
It's okay, yeah.
we gotta
Yeah.
repeat it until you get stuck in there. Oh, realize it. That's what my parents want. Even though they taught us 365 days for 70 years.
When they become adult, that's when they're gonna practice it.
Yeah, I'm hoping that will stick sometime.
It will.
Yeah,
It will.
but too at the same time, remember there's this movement they call the New Age movement, all right? And that has a very big influence on the children today, where everything in the schools is centered around this New Age,
It is.
right?
It's hard.
And so the children is growing up with that. So when they become big, that's what they're gonna follow. Alright, because in like my school, you have some of the little boys coming to school in dresses now, right, and things like that. So and most of the activities we have in school is associated or connected to the LGBT kind of things and so forth. So before, if a child did something like touching one of the girls incorrectly, he could get 2 days suspension. Today it's acceptable. They say, oh, we're trying to make friends. So, right? But if you listen to the news, every day there is somebody is complaining that this person touched them inappropriately and that person is in trouble. So it's a double standard. So what's going to happen 10 years from now? So...
No, we just keep repeating the same thing over and over to our kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully they will stick to that.
But that will help, yeah. See, you guys are dedicated parents, so you're doing that. But how many other parents are doing what you're doing?
We know those parents too, but there's nothing we can do for their kids. But we can my own kids. We have to teach.
Yeah.
So we just repeat the
Yeah,
same thing over and over.
and then the children who are influenced by peer pressure, which is a big thing. They want to follow, don't mind what their if the parents is not doing like you guys, you come right doing what you're doing, and still you have a temple at home, you come to the temple, so that foundation is there. Those who don't have any foundation, it's very difficult for those
They're lost.
people,
They have no
all right?
idea what's right.
Whether the parents is trying or not, but that consistent pounding in of the principles is not there, no?
I think the society and the breakdown of family.
Yeah.
A lot of single parents.
It's a big problem.
It's not easy to
Education.
raise.
Uh-huh.
No,
Well,
not
I raised my son single-handedly, but he was brought up in the temple. But when I'm home, I devote all my time to him. Besides working, once I'm out of work, all my time is him. So you build up this relationship where they will talk about any problem in life with you from a young age to even when they become adults.
Yeah.
So it is super, super important how parents raise their children.
The family.
Yeah. See, you know, I'm sure when most of us here, when we at home, when it's dinner time, we have to go and sit at the table.
Yeah.
We have to
This is the
eat,
time you
right?
talk about
How
day
is it?
was.
Yeah.
Everybody has
How was the day?
Yeah.
So you explain, this is the time you could express your feeling. Today, most of the children, they don't understand how to even sit at the table, right? And how to clean up behind themselves. If you look, they think when they don't like something, they just throw it on the floor, and they don't, you know. So all that stuff, the etiquette, it's called, it's not taught. So what's going to happen again, the same question in the next 10 years. So this morning on the bus coming, a lady was eating corn on the bus, a boiled corn. And she got up when she finished and tried to open the door when the bus is in motion to throw the corn outside. And everybody got onto her case. You know what she said? Oh, I forgot. So that's an adult. Okay? So because this is how society is. People see, like at my karate school, I will get a ticket for $300 for the sidewalk. I never smoked cigarette in my life, but if you swept yesterday, Saturday, if you go there today, you'll see the sidewalk is so dirty. Okay, but why am I getting a ticket for so much money when
you're responsible for your area?
Yeah, but what I'm saying, I don't smoke. I can't stand cigarette. If you start smoking right now, it's like I'm crying for some reason. My eyes are running and my throat start blocking up because I can't stand cigarettes. And everybody in there, the smoke coming through, and everybody start thinking, and you know, you get droopy sort of. So I have to go out and ask the people to move from there, and they curse me out all the time. No?
This is how, you know, because they were never taught what's right or what's wrong. They do what they want.
Well,
so when they become adults, they do what
they
they
do,
want.
yeah.
They speak whatever they want. Okay? I think the most important thing is how to raise a child is to open their heart and mind to you. Look at all the teen suicides today. Right? Why are little children committing suicide? It's because they hold everything inside. Whatever is bothering them or whoever is bullying them, they have no one to release their frustrations to.
Yeah.
Okay? So they hold it inside, and the only way out for them is suicide.
Because they see trustworthiness. There's no one to speak to about that I could come and tell you anything, because I know when I say like something, you're not gonna go and tell. But they don't have that trustworthiness. All right, it's time. So if I've said anything incorrectly or made any mistake, I ask the Buddhas and saints and all of you for forgiveness. Thank you.